Welcome back to our Starting Solids series. I'm Jen, nurse practitioner, and if you're just joining us, make sure to watch video 1 where we covered readiness signs and getting started with purees. Today, we're talking about the 6-month milestone and why this age is absolutely critical for your baby's nutrition. Whether your baby is exactly 6 months or you started solids a bit earlier, this video will help you understand what changes at this stage and how to navigate them confidently. We're covering the iron situation that every parent needs to understand, how to balance milk feeds with increasing solid intake. And I'm going to give you the real story on baby-led weaning, the benefits, the risks, and what the current research actually tells us. Plus, I'll tell you the critical difference between gagging and choking, because this knowledge could literally save your baby's life. Let's dive in with the science behind why 6 months is such a nutritional turning point. Here's what's happening in your baby's body around 6 months that most parents don't realize. Your baby is running out of iron stores. Babies are born with iron stores that come from you during pregnancy. These stores are designed to last about 4 to 6 months. But here's the catch. Breast milk, while it's perfect in almost every other way, is relatively low in iron. Formula is fortified with iron, but even formula-fed babies can start running low around this time because their needs are increasing as they grow. Iron deficiency is the most common nutritional deficiency in babies and toddlers worldwide. And it's not just about anemia. Iron is crucial for brain development, immune function, and energy levels. Iron deficiency in the first year can actually impact cognitive development long term. So when your pediatrician says it's time to start solids at 6 months, they're not just talking about developmental readiness. They're talking about nutritional necessity. Now, if you started solids earlier following the readiness signs we discussed in video 1, that's great. You're already ahead of the game. But if you waited until exactly 6 months, it's time to really prioritize those iron-rich foods immediately. The good news, you don't need to panic or rush, but what you do need to do is to be intentional about what you're feeding your baby. Let's talk about the best sources of iron for babies. There are 2 types of iron. There are heme iron, which is from animal sources, and non-heme iron from plant sources. Heme iron is more easily absorbed, but both are important. The top heme iron sources for babies would include pureed or finely shredded chicken, beef, or turkey, salmon or other fish, just watch for bones, and egg yolks, scrambled, soft, or hard-boiled, and then mashed. The top non-heme iron sources include iron-fortified baby cereals, pureed lentils or well-cooked mashed beans, tofu cut into appropriate sizes, and dark leafy greens like spinach, pureed or finely chopped. Here's the key. Iron absorption can be tricky. You can significantly boost absorbing your iron by pairing it with the vitamin C foods. Think a sweet potato with a little pureed chicken, iron-fortified cereal with mashed strawberries, lentils with a squeeze of fresh lemon, scrambled eggs with diced tomatoes. Avoid giving iron-rich foods with dairy at the same meal. The calcium and iron will bind to each other, and it can cause that absorption to not occur. So if you're doing eggs, skip the cheese for now. One practical tip from my practice, if you're doing purees, mix iron-fortified cereals into fruit or vegetable purees rather than serving it plain. Babies often prefer the flavor, and you're getting that helpful boost of vitamin C for absorption. So how do you balance the milk intake with the solid food intake? This is where parents get really confused, because how much of either is the right quantity? What if they're not eating enough solids? What if they're refusing their milk? Here's your framework age by age. If you go 6 to 7 months, these early introductory months, breast milk or formula is still providing 90% of calories. Offer your solids a couple times a day, but think tablespoons. They're not going to be grand amounts, and that's okay. They're still learning how to navigate the solid introduction. Milk feeds should still be on demand or every 3 to 4 hours. By 8 to 9 months old, we're now looking about 70% of calories from milk, but about 30% from solid foods. Think 3 meals a day and maybe a snack in there. Up to 1/4 of a cup per meal increasing variety depending on what your baby is interested in, and you might not notice slightly longer gaps between milk feeds. Between 10 and 12 months, your baby's really starting to get ready to transition more and more to those solid foods. You might be more at that 50-50 mark. And you should be having 3 meals consistently throughout the day, plus 1 or even 2 snacks a day. Starting to eat with the family will help introduce more and more variety to those foods, and it'll help really consolidate that mealtime. Here's what I tell families: follow your baby's cues, not the rigid schedules. And some babies are naturally more interested in solids earlier, and others take their time, and both are normal. The big red flags that warrant a conversation with your pediatrician would be if your baby's refusing all solid foods for more than a week after multiple attempts, or there's a dramatic drop in the milk intake without corresponding increase in solids, or you're worried about weight loss or poor weight gain. The key is gradual transition. We're not automatically replacing anything overnight. We're slowly shifting, and your baby will kind of take the lead on that. So let's transition and start talking about baby-led weaning. Baby-led weaning is an approach that gained huge popularity, and I get asked about it constantly. Let me give you the balanced, evidence-based perspective. What it is you offer appropriately sized finger foods straight from the beginning. You kind of skip the puree section and you allow your baby to self-feed. And the idea is that babies learn how to chew first, then swallow, which may reduce choking risk. What the research shows is that studies show that baby-led weaning babies may be less picky eaters later and have better self-regulation of food intake. However, there are some important considerations. First, your baby must demonstrate all the readiness signs we talked about in video 1. They need to be able to sit upright independently, not just with support. You need to be able to understand safe food preparation and appropriate sizes to avoid choking. And you absolutely must know the difference between gagging and choking, and we'll get into that later. Appropriate baby-led weaning foods at 6 months would include soft cooked vegetables cut into about finger-sized pieces. They're super soft, you can mash them with a finger. Ripe, soft fruits like banana or avocado strips, well-cooked pasta shapes, strips of well-cooked meat or fish, or even handing your baby the bone of the T-bone and letting them gnaw on that, or toast strips with very thin spreads. And that could be your introduction to peanut butter or nut butter, but again, very thin slice spread of that butter on the toast. The foods to avoid: anything small and hard like nuts or grapes, raw carrots, anything that could break into small, hard pieces. My clinical perspective is that baby-led weaning can be wonderful for the right families, but it's not superior to traditional weaning. Both approaches can result in healthy, adventurous eaters. The best approach is the one that works for your family and for your baby. If you're anxious about choking or don't feel confident with food prep, traditional purees with gradual texture progression is great. That might be better for you. If you're excited about baby-led weaning and willing to learn the proper techniques, that can be a great option. You also have to look at your baby. If your baby is one that just wants to get that spoon out of their face and wants to take over and get everything into their mouth themselves, baby-led weaning baby. If you hand your baby a little potato piece or a banana and they think that texture is gross and they don't want to touch it, that might mean that your baby is a pureed baby and would rather you feed him yourself. So it's not just parents who are in charge. It's not just babies who are in charge. You have to make sure everyone's on the same page together, and you can marry the two together. You can do some purees, some meals, and you can do some baby-led weaning, some meals as well, and just whatever the baby gets in, great. It's a marriage of the two perfect situations. There's no rule that you have to pick one method and stick to it exclusively. So gagging versus choking. This is the most important section of today's video. Every parent needs to understand the difference between choking and gagging and how to respond to each. Gagging is normal and it is protective. Your baby makes noise like coughing or retching or gagging sounds. Their face might turn red, but they're still breathing. They're actively trying to move food with their tongue. It looks scary, but they're handling it themselves. This is their gag reflex protecting them from choking. Your response to gagging would be to stay calm. Don't intervene. Let your baby work through it. You can say encouragingly, "You're okay. Keep working on it." Don't hit their back or try to sweep their mouth. Choking, on the other hand, is a medical emergency. They are silent because they can't make noise because their airway is blocked. Their face turns blue or purple. They can't breathe or cough. They'll have a look of panic or distress on their face. They may lose consciousness. Your response? Call 911 immediately and begin infant CPR. If you flip your baby on their tummy with their head down and you do the back blows, that's first thing. If you're not trained in infant CPR, please take a class before starting solids so you have that background and that confidence before you start your journey. Here's what I recommend. You take an infant CPR class through the Red Cross or the hospital before you start finger foods or baby-led weaning. It's not because I expect you'll need it, but because the confidence it gives you will make you more calm and more confident during those meal times. Most of what parents think is choking is actually gagging. Gagging happens frequently when babies are learning to eat. It's how they manage food safely. And if you interfere with normal gagging, you actually interfere with their learning process. So let's wrap up with something equally important. Creating positive associations with food and mealtimes from the very beginning. Your environment, you should have minimal distractions. Turn off the TV, put your phone away during meals. Have everyone sit together when possible, even if your baby is eating different food from everyone else. Use appropriate seating. Use a high chair with a footrest and proper positioning, and keep meals relaxed. Don't rush them. Be pleasant throughout the whole experience. Your role as a parent, you decide what, when, and where food is offered. Your baby decides how much to eat and whether to eat at all. Don't turn meals into battles or negotiations. Model positive eating behaviors. Eat together, try new foods yourself. Manage the mess as you need to. Put down a splat mat or towels because mess is part of learning. Have cleanup supplies ready, but don't clean constantly during the meal. Let your baby explore food with their hands. This is normal sensory learning. And respond to refusal by staying neutral. Don't show disappointment or frustration. Keep offering the refused foods. It can take up to 10 exposures before they finally accept it. And don't become a short order cook. You do not need to make multiple meals at one time for different kids. Trust that your baby will eat when they're hungry. Remember, you're not just feeding your baby, you're creating their relationship with food for life. Keep mealtimes pleasant and pressure-free, and it's just as important as the nutrients you're providing. The goal isn't a clean, quiet baby who eats everything perfectly. The goal is a baby who's learning to enjoy food, trust their hunger and fullness cues, and associate mealtimes with positive family time. So let's recap today's key points. Iron becomes critical at 6 months. Prioritize iron-rich foods with vitamin C for absorption. Balance your milk and solids gradually over months, not days. Baby-led weaning can be great, but it isn't necessary. Choose the approach that works for your family. Learn the difference between gagging and choking, and consider taking an infant CPR class. Most important, create a positive, pressure-free mealtime for association from the beginning. Don't forget to grab my Starting Solids ebooks, Milk to Meals. It includes iron-rich meal plans, baby-led safety checklists, portion guides for every age, and the link is in the description below. If this video helped you feel more confident about the 6-month milestone, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.